Tapp Consulting Group is proud to introduce you to ReQlogic. It's an e-procurement system that seamlessly integrates in real time with Microsoft Dynamics ERP, Dynamics AX, Dynamics GP, Dynamics SL, and Dynamics NAV. We understand your frustrations with manual paper-based systems. They can be costing you time and money when you have to manually enter information in multiple systems, chase documents, look for signatures, search through emails and documents for unnecessary questions, and all the delays that can be caused by the inability to access documents remotely. So we're here to show you how you can overcome those obstacles by moving from a manual paper-based system to an automated procurement system. ReQlogic is an attractive option due to its accuracy, efficiency, and cost-cutting advantages. ReQlogic offers several modules that all work together to automate and track the complete procurement cycle, all the way from request to payment in one location. This is a fantastic communications tool for clerical positions from one end to the other. It also helps buyers focus on the real value-added tasks at hand and leaves the mundane clerical tasks to be automated. And what I'm going to show you today is the new version, version 11. This system runs on Microsoft SQL. It runs with the latest version of Navision, Solomon, Great Plains, and Exacta. ReQlogic was first developed in 2002, and we've been working with it and implementing it since 2004. When you purchase this system, it is custom designed with the modules you choose. Today we're going to look at some of the most popular and useful modules. This is the opening screen. Under the System tab, you'll see all the master files that we helped you configure when we set up your system. Users, departments, roles. Okay, so let's quickly go through the tabs. Here's your requisition, the invoices, the expenses. This is the vendor portal, which gives vendors direct, secured access into the system. Routing. This is an automated workflow, and it's tightly integrated with the ERP with Microsoft Dynamics. So when you're putting in a requisition, for example, let's say we're having $1 million part created by a manufacturer for one of your production machines. As you're doing the requisition, you can attach important files like design drawings, or you can attach a URL link to this requisition. The blue fields you see are required. Once the requisition is approved by the final approver, it goes to the buyer into what's called the buyer queue. The buyer clicks on a checkbox and the system creates the PO automatically. The PO is created. There is a receipt, number 5. The voucher in the AP system that was generated is 98, and the check that paid the vendor is 24. The nice thing about expenses is that if you have employees out in the field, they can submit their expense reports through the mobile app, and there's no coding. They just use plain English, like air or hotel, which are linked back to a GL account. So if we look at air, we see it's set up as an expense tied to this GL code. When they fill out an expense report, it looks just like a requisition. The vendor portal is a way to communicate directly with your vendor, and it acts like a chat that captures the written conversation and keeps a record. This is extremely valuable when you're purchasing $1 million piece of production equipment that's being designed specifically for you, because it keeps track of all your conversations about the specs, the design, and everything else, and it stamps everything. This is a secure place that can become very valuable to your company. Stop wasting time and being interrupted by vendors asking when they'll be paid. With this system, your vendors can securely log in, invest their own time, and answer their own questions without bothering you. Let them find out for themselves. This is how a supplier would log on to use the vendor portal just like we talked about, or to create a request for quote. The quoting system is designed to be quick and easy for the purchaser, so if you have a high volume of parts and you want to frequently quote them, you can do it without investing a lot of time. Basically, the supplier does all the work. You have a website portal set up where you've linked your inventory parts to certain vendors. You can click a button and the system will send out alerts to all those vendors that supply that particular item and ask for a quote. When the quotes come back, the system manages them all and puts the lowest priced one on the top, and it creates a requisition automatically for that item at that price for that vendor. Now you can always override it and change it to whatever you want, but the initial requisition is automatically set up for you. Here's the real strength and power of the system. This is called the routing. This is where you design your workflow. Basically, you're programming the steps that each document is going to take for approval. There are separate routings for requisitions, invoices, and expense reports. You set up logic events. This is the criteria. In order for this requisition to go to the manager of the department the requester is in, it must meet the criteria you've defined. If it meets that criteria, then the department manager is going to get an email alert that says, "You have a requisition to be approved." They can click on the email and it takes them right into the requisition. This is an example of a very simple workflow. Step 2. If the total value of this requisition is greater than $3,000, then it goes here to this specific person. And we help you map out and plan all these steps as part of the configuration process. Here's another example. By the way, this is an AND situation. If there are 3 criteria up here, all 3 must be true before the system moves on to route this request to the manager. Here's another example. The first step is to be approved by the department manager. As soon as the manager approves it, it moves on to the second step, which in this example involves a class ID. If the item on the requisition is an LAP or NETW, meaning a laptop or network item, the next email alert will go to whoever is responsible for approving these type of items by class ID. In this example, these are IT items and they have to be approved by this person. You can also make conditional routings and you can branch them. Here's all the different data fields that you could choose to condition your routing when it's configured. Now once it's set up, you won't need to touch this again unless your policies change. This is the heart of the system because this directs where requisitions, invoices, and expense reports all go. When a PO invoice comes in, the system will automatically match the quantity and the price on the PO with the quantity and price of what was received, with the quantity and price on the invoice from the vendor. All 3 of those things have to match. The system looks at the total value of the invoice, the total value of the receipt, and the total value of the PO. As long as they all match, then it will automatically create the voucher. If it doesn't match, it will send an alert and prompt someone to investigate the issue. Now this can save your organization a lot of time because you only have to look at the 20% that are wrong, not the 80% that are correct. This feature can save you time, money, mistakes, and prevent you from creating a voucher if there isn't a 3-way match. When the 3-way match checks out, all a person has to do is go into the ERP, AP system and cut a check. So from the time a person enters the requisition, other than receiving the goods, human hands don't have to touch this again until the check is cut. If you're a manager and you're an approver in that routing sequence, all you have to do is click on a link from your email. The requisition, invoice, or expense report will open. You click on a box that says approve, and it's done. Now this whole system is designed to free your time from clerical tasks so your team can focus on more important work. This system pays for itself within 12 months. Let's look at budget maintenance. This system bases your budget on commitment, not actual expense. A lot of budgeting systems only create the encumbrance against the budget line item when you've received an invoice, and then it becomes an actual expense. The problem with this is you don't know that you've committed that money, and if it's something big, it could be months before the actual invoice hits. This system encumbers the budget line item up front when the PO is cut, so you know you've committed the money and it's not available to be spent. It's already been committed. We also have a punch-out catalog setup. Basically, you add items you want, and the system goes out to your vendor's catalogs, brings in the items automatically, and builds requisitions for them. So all you have to do is submit it for approval. This makes sure you have the accurate pricing. You can limit items like office supplies to standard, non-expensive items rather than name brand deluxe items. You can set up a whole catalog specifically for your company that only contains the less expensive generic items, and that's all people can order. This can save your organization a lot of money. In the ReQlogic catalog, we set up your items for expenses. Auto would be an expense item if an employee was using their own car. You can put the appropriate reimbursement rate in here. You can also specify how much can be spent on meals each day, which is $65 in this example. You can see that LAP is a laptop, for example. These items can be used as routing criteria. If you're a decentralized company with branches all over the place, this can help the VP in one location who is tasked with approving, for example, all the IT equipment purchases. We can route any requisition for any IT item directly to this person. So no one in the company can buy anything computer related without it going through the proper approval. You can also route based on some of the ERP things like vendors, inventory items, and the GL accounts. For example, you can set it up so that nobody can assign anything to the asset account unless the general ledger manager approves it. Once you enter a requisition, all you have to do is submit it and then it goes on its merry way. After you've sent the requisition, you can go back and see exactly where it is in the approval process and where it may be being held up. So let's talk about data field customizations. This is a key area where you can do your own customizations. For example, here are all the fields on the requisition header. You can make them visible, read only, change the color of the background, make them required. You can change the label, what shows. You can do a drop-down box. You could also put certain tables in, like in this case, it's the department. Now again, this is part of the initial configuration. This is usually done once and not touched again. So let's add this, department charged, as a drop-down and save it. Now when I open it up, you see the department charged and it's a required field. Here are the departments. Now that's one of the easiest customizations that adds a lot of power to this system. So far we've been looking at this system from an admin login. Now I'm going to log in as a user so you can see what a typical user would see. This is a list of recent transactions. If you click on a transaction, it immediately opens to show you the details. Think about how much less paper will be pushed around your office, misfiled, lost, and need to be stored. During implementation, there are two phases that must be done face-to-face. The first one is upfront, gathering the requirements and designing the system. Configuring and testing come next, and those can be done remotely. The next thing that needs to be done face-to-face is the training. One is a session for those people that are requesters, that will be entering the requisitions in the invoices. The second session is for approvers, to teach them what they receive and what actions they need to take. The third training, which is the most complex and the longest, is the administrator training. It's the administrator who would eventually learn this system and be able to take it on themselves. Now, many companies don't want to bring that last step in-house, and they choose to purchase additional support from us instead. There's also a buyer training. The buyer training teaches the buyer how to manage queue, the requests information, and determine fulfillment either from inventory or creation of a PO. Throughout the whole ReQlogic system, it is designed to save you time, to eliminate wasted effort, and to eliminate any miscommunication. And it works. It's one of the most reliable, bug-free software we've ever worked with, and ReQlogic has one of the best support teams in the industry. There's 700 installations and 60,000 users worldwide. ReQlogic is the answer. At Tapp Consulting Group, we look forward to helping you learn more about ReQlogic. The total cost is very reasonable and implementation takes weeks, not months. Thank you for watching and please contact us for your free demonstration today. We look forward to speaking with you.